Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering the installation of suspension on this Tiger 2 model. Unfortunately, I have some responsibilities that I have to take care of, so that means I can't do my best representation of Howie to try and get my projects done.
Outside bad. The sun's scary. He's not my friend. He wants to hurt me. He wants to safer.
So I do wish to apologize in advance regarding the lack of covered material in this video. I will be sure to make up for it by means of entertainment.
You're goddamn right.
So let's sit on down, settle in, and get into this. Picking up where we left off in the previous video, we have the framework of the lower hull completed, the majority of the interior of the right side wall mounted, and the torsion bar guides installed, ready for the suspension itself to go in. Here you see me removing the torsion bars from the sprue and then preparing them for paint. The flash, or excess squeeze out of plastic from the molds, is very minimal on these pieces, so not much is required by means of surface preparation. I don't want these rolling all over the desk, so I'm going to put them in a small jar for safekeeping. To prepare them for paint, I'm going to use some blue tack. Any of y'all seen Hellraiser?
We'll tear your soul apart.
Would you look at that? Now I've done this specifically so that then I can support them and keep the contact patch clean for the glue when I go to put the actual suspension arm on them. But this allows me to paint them in bulk quickly with the airbrush just by spinning the base around and around until I get paint on all surfaces. What do you mean you just saw me airbrush all over my instructions? I'm a professional.
Uh-huh.
I'm applying Vallejo black primer to the torsion bars so I can save some time in the long run by matching the primer to the finished color. For this model, Takom has broken up the suspension arms into two versions, A and B. It should help keep track of which is which. The Tiger 2 had interleafed road wheels to help spread out the pressure of its immense weight, 5 outboard and 4 inboard on each side. A versus B must be to help differentiate them. The suspension arms had a considerable amount of flash on them, not terrible, but enough that it would be seen, so I had to clean these up. As you can see, the blue tack did two jobs here. Held the pieces in place so that I could ensure total coverage in paint, and provided a masking application to ensure that no paint contaminated my gluing surfaces. If I were to recommend a list of unexpectedly handy tool or materials to have when model building, I would rank blue tack as a very strong contender. If you haven't already, would you consider hitting the like or subscribe button? I know it doesn't seem all that important, but it would mean the world to me if you did. With the torsion bars assembled, I can now prepare the model for installation. Prior to installing them, I want to weather the interior. I'm going to be using canvas-style oil-based paints suspended in mineral spirit so that then I can apply a realistic oil wash to the model. The problem with the suspension is not that I don't want it to look dirty, it's that I feel that the torsion bars will interfere with my ability to be able to reach into the crevices, and I don't want to have these high, bright spots and low spots just because the torsion bars were in the way. If anything, the spots where the torsion bar overhang should be darker than the surrounding areas. It is truly important that you get this oil wash over the entirety of the interior. Tanks are filthy. They spew oil, coolant, fuel, and soot that cakes up everywhere. The only clean tank is a new tank, and this model is by no means intended to be factory fresh, so I need to ensure that I get this wash on every surface I can to really sell the wear and tear effect that I am going for. I've noticed here that a couple of wires have not been painted for what appears to be a distributor box, so I want to go ahead and pick those out now using Vallejo's USN Light Ghost Gray. Now it's time to finally attach the lower Glacis. This is the lower plate that sits on the front of the hull, deflecting rounds downward. What's cool about this Takom model is they actually scaled all the plastic to be realistic to scale of the model, meaning armor thickness and densities and stuff like that, which I find really fascinating. And at the same time, it's kind of daunting, to be honest.
Because that's how I roll. Thick. With 3 C's. You don't...
Now, I know I did apply a copious amount of glue to this Glacis plate. It's simply because there was a slight bit of warpage to it, and I want to ensure that it sits perfectly flat on this surface. So I'm going to be tinkering away with this for a couple seconds until I know that it's really bit down on the surface. Finally, we get to install the torsion bars. This has been something I've been looking forward to and kind of dreading, to be honest. Now what's cool is one side will swing forward and one side swings backward. This is so that then the bars, as they pass through the hull, have the ability to twist and turn and not bind up on each other. It's rather fascinating that they managed to capture that in a model in this scale. Here you go. Here's the proof. They swing to the other side. On this side, they swing forward. So I will admit, these suspension arms and torsion bars are quite fiddly, so you kind of juggle around with it for a couple of minutes until you finally get them lined up just right. But you know what? I feel like I'm taking too much time on this, and I need to try and fast forward. Let's see if we can jump time a bit here. You ready? Man, if only I could get my chores done that easily. And little did he know, he had already messed up. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, how about now?
What the heck is that, man?
Before you ask, I didn't notice this until about an hour and a half later, 2 hours or so. What you guys are seeing is actually a collection of about an hour and 45 to 2 hours of recording, necked down to about 14 minutes, 15 minutes, and then some memes sprinkled into it. So, yeah, we're going to be looking at that glaring issue for a while. Now, for these drive sprockets, they're nicely modeled. They're actually really, really nicely detailed. The only problem is because they went for scale thickness, the little nibs are exceptionally thin. So I'm having to be very, very careful here as I try and carve away the excess bit of sprue. Time for the obligatory wheel spin. Let's all bask in its greatness. Shh. Screw it. You guys saw it. You saw it spin. It did the thing, right? Okay, good enough. Back to building the model.
Back to work, fool!
Now to flush out the other side of the interior, I'll be assembling the other fuel tanks, floor access hatch, as well as the driver's controls such as the pedals, brake levers, and what I believe is a spare periscope assembly that will be mounted to the left of the driver. With the fuel tanks now assembled, I can begin to create the mounting bracket for what I believe is a spare periscope. This will be made using the supplied photo etch. Photo etch consists of very thin sheets of brass that are etched lightly to provide detail. This type of material is fantastic when you are truly aiming for the most accurate of scale where plastic just would not hold up. I will be shaping this using my photo etch vise, hitting it with my files, and then priming it with Mr. Surfacer Mahogany Brown to ensure that the top coat will be able to adhere to it. Here I'm sanding down this auxiliary fuel tank as the surface of it isn't quite flush, and I want to try and make sure it sits as evenly as possible across the surface. Time to mount the periscope to this bracket. I'm going to be using just the slightest bit of super glue to make sure it adheres. Normal model glue will not work here is because normal model glue consists of a chemical that melts the plastic down and effectively welds it together. That won't work with the metal because it's just not going to melt metal. You know, if it's melting metal, I've got bigger things to worry about. Now all these components are prepped for paint. Let's go ahead and get some primer on them, and then I can go ahead and top coat them. For the primer, I'll be using Mr. Surfacer's Mahogany Brown, as it'll set up a nice base coat for the Vallejo Whole Red that I'll be using to replicate the oxide primer that the Germans were using in World War II. Once all of that is done, then I can go ahead and start mounting these components to the model. Here I realized that I missed the floor hatch, and so I'm having to assemble that now quickly so that then I can have it all ready for the final coat of paint later on in this video and ready for installation. Tell you what, those little handles are tiny. I'm really surprised I managed to do this without tweezers. Now for the top coat, like I said, I'm going to be using Vallejo's Whole Red. I'm going to go over all the pieces, and then once that's done, I can start assembling. I will tell you, this larger fuel tank on the left-hand side might have been easier to install with that side panel out of the hole, but yeah, didn't do that. And these two boxes that I'm installing now are actually the batteries to help operate the tank, similar to a car battery. I will tell you, this little control lever on the far left was really fiddly. Took me a couple of minutes to try and figure out how to get it set in there and to actually bite down with the glue. For those of you wondering if I recognized the Dipsy Doodle in the frame, nope, not yet. Now for the pedal box installation, I will tell you that the arms for those pedals, super flimsy. You gotta be really careful with them or they're gonna just pop or break or bend out of shape, and good luck with that. Now for painting the details, I'm going to the very back of the instruction manual because it's got 2 pages of photos and they're well rendered. It's just kind of limited in their angles of visibility, if you will. I really wish that they had maybe 2 more pages where they'd show like one complete side of the interior from one side of the other, top down, down up, stuff like that. You know what I mean? It would have been nice, but yeah, I totally understand. This is better than some other kits that just show the exterior and leave you wondering what the inside's supposed to look like. Here, I'm just trying to pick out some of those little details on, again, what I believe is a periscope, just before wrapping this one up for the day. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That wraps up today's video. I sincerely apologize. I wish I had more material to put into this one, but in all honesty, I just lost track of time. I would ideally like to be able to start publishing something small, like a little snippet on Tuesday, and maybe something Warhammer related on Wednesday, and then do a main video release, like a main channel release on Fridays. Let me know what you think about that. And for those of you who are still here to the end, thank you. I truly appreciate you. Every single one of you make this easier for me in the long run. And you guys are truly showing the support that I need to really keep this moving. I truly appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. And thanks again, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good one.